Today on Judge Alex. He says he's owed for a great comedy performance.
I have footage of some of my jokes that I do, so.
But then it was like Friday, Viagra, yeah. I'm like, oh, snap, my grandmother's still doing it, y'all.
So, I mean, he seen my show. He know what I do, you know?
Nobody wants to picture grandma like that.
But he's accusing him of offending the audience and costing him money.
People are walking out. You didn't do too great.
How many people walked out?
A good 30 to 40 people got up from their table and walked out.
I usually don't pick with the crowd unless they say something, you know, abstract or their phone go off.
Why don't you tell us about the Precious joke then?
I didn't do the Precious joke.
What was the Precious joke?
That was me.
Today, what happens when you make fun of Judge Alex?
I've been picked on at a comedy show. I laughed like crazy. I laughed until I cried, and I was the brunt of the joke. Of course, after the show, the guy went to prison, but the point is...
As a cop, he stood up for the law. As a trial lawyer, he fought for the truth. And as a criminal court judge, he commanded authority. Now he returns to preside over America's courtroom. Judge Alex. Sean Boyd is suing show promoter Philip Dent for $4,000, claiming he stiffed him on his share of a comedy show. Joining him in court is his witness and fellow comedian, Ben Palmer. Philip claims Sean breached their agreement by telling off-color jokes that offended the audience, requiring him to issue refunds. So he owes him nothing.
All rise. This court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Alex Ferrer presiding.
Thank you. Please be seated. Mr. Boyd, you're suing Mr. Dent because you say he hired you and another comedian to perform a show, and after you finished performing the show, he refused to pay you.
Yes.
Okay. And Mr. Dent, you say that you hired him as comedians, but they weren't supposed to say any off-color jokes, and they made some offensive jokes and off-color jokes, and you don't owe them any money.
That's correct.
Okay. All right. How did this all start?
Well, I've been in comedy for about 2 years, doing good on the road, doing things like that. Got into comedy.
Where are you from?
I'm originally from Cleveland.
And how is it that you came to know Mr. Dent?
Well, I actually met Mr. Dent from one of my fellow comedian friends, Ben Palmer.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So how is it that you two met?
We were at a comedy show, and he came up to me after the show. Ben introduced him, he told me I was funny, and he might want to do some work with me down later in the line.
And what is it that you do that you look for comedy acts?
Because I put shows together. I bring people to shows.
Oh, okay. All right. And then do you set up these shows and rent venues and then charge money?
Correct. I knew the owner of a venue who needed to bring people in, so I saw Sean, told him to get comedians together.
Okay.
And bring them in.
Okay. All right. So when was it you were supposed to perform?
The show was November 11th, 2010.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And what was your discussion with Mr. Dent when he first approached you?
My discussion, we met like early October. We discussed. He said he wanted me to put on a show, which was about an hour and a half, to get the comedians, do the flyers, help promote. And I agreed. And we agreed on terms on as far as like how much the tickets were going to be and how much would I get compensated for all the work that I put in.
How much were the tickets?
The tickets were $20 a piece.
And how many people would the venue hold?
The place actually held 500.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And so did you know in advance how many people were going to show up, or were you kind of waiting to see that night what the turnout?
Well, I was waiting to see that night. I mean, I put it on, Facebook, did the flyers, people pre-ordered tickets, things like that. So I kind of had an idea of it was going to be a nice crowd. So.
Okay. So what was your arrangement? Were you splitting the door proceeds? Was he paying you a flat rate? What were you doing?
We were actually splitting the door proceeds.
Okay. So whatever the door proceed was, what share were you supposed to get?
I was supposed to get half.
50%. Okay. Is all that true, Mr. Dent?
No, it isn't.
What was your take on it?
I had to split. I had to pay the venue, the owner of the bar, so I had to split it with him and Sean, so it wasn't 50%.
Yeah. How much was it?
So, well, 24. I don't know.
Really? Because you're a businessman, you can't do the math here. Are you splitting it evenly?
No, it's not even.
Was it going to be like a third, a third, a third, or was it supposed to be 50% for him and then you split the other?
Third and third and third.
Okay. So each of you was going to take an equal piece.
Correct.
Okay. All right. So we already have a dispute right off the bat. Okay. So now the event occurs as planned, I suppose.
Correct.
Okay. All right. How many people show up?
It was about 350 to 400 people.
Okay. What was your calculation?
Like 450, 435, something like that.
Is there a number written anywhere?
No, I know how much I brought in, so.
Okay. All right. How much did you bring in?
About $8,000, so 400
So it
people.
sounds like $20 a head is 400 people. See how fast I did that? Okay. So now, the event happens.
That's correct.
How did it go? How'd the party go?
It went real good. I mean, like I said, I'm funny, so I do what I need to do. And
all evidence to the contrary. I'll take your word for it.
I'm just saying, because I mean, like I appeal to crowds, and for us not to get paid, also, my partner right here didn't want to do road work with me.
Okay, come on up, sir.
We would go around and.
Well, tell me how the show went, though. Did you open first?
One of our other comics opened up the show.
Okay.
Coming up, did Sean's witness ruin his business relationship with Philip?
And then lady in the front row just freaks out. Like that's.
But you called her Precious, that's why.
Because she looked like Precious. She was.
Hold on.
And later, what impact will Sean's evidence have on this case?
But like my grandmother has a Facebook and a Twitter. And it was like Monday, bingo. I'm like, oh, don't win some money, Grandma. I need some gas.
Judge Alex is back with the case of Sean Boyd, who says Philip Dent didn't pay him for his participation in a comedy show. He's suing for $4,000. With him in court is his witness and fellow comedian, Ben Palmer. Philip says he doesn't owe Sean any money because he breached their agreement by offending the audience with his off-color jokes.
What is your name, sir?
Ben Palmer.
Okay. Mr. Palmer, how long have you been a comedian?
About 2.5 years.
2.5 years. Okay.
Yep.
Have you worked with Mr. Boyd before?
Yeah.
All right. No problems before?
No, I don't. Nothing, no problems as far as the money goes.
Okay. You have friction with him in other ways?
Sometimes.
Do comedians fight?
All the time.
Really?
Yeah. All the time.
What do you guys usually fight about? Do you usually fight about the jokes or the money, or what do you usually get in fights about?
There's no fights, man.
No?
No. We don't fight. We always crack on each other,
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So in this event, he approaches you, and how much does he tell you he's going to pay you? Is it a percent or is it a flat rate?
$1,000.
So it's a flat rate?
Yeah.
Okay. And how long a show were you supposed to do?
20 minutes.
Okay. So tell me how the show went. From your perspective, how did he do?
So I thought we both did great.
What did you think? How
They did horrible. I mean, if people were walking out, you didn't do too great, basically.
How many people walked out?
A good 30 to 40 people got up from their table and walked out.
Okay.
Actually,
You were watching the show?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And I had my family there, and they were offended. So it's just like,
You didn't think he was funny?
no.
Okay.
Not for like I said, he's a funny guy, but just not for this venue, I guess.
Okay. Well, what exactly was wrong with this venue?
It was over 40-year-old people. I think he's used to catering to like 20-year-old people.
What kind of jokes did you expect him to tell to the over 40 crowd, just so I know what I should laugh at?
Just not talk.
Right, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
What were you expecting?
I mean, he was just telling jokes. Like, we had old people there. He would talk about them. Like, they don't want to get talked about.
He was picking on the crowd.
Yeah, he's picking on the crowd. And it's
That's funny.
no, it's not.
Well, it's funny when you're not the one he's picking on, but, I mean,
Well, no one
comedians
else
do that all the time, right?
Yeah, I guess.
Okay, so some of the people complained or walked out or whatever,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
No one walked out.
What was your take on it?
The show went great. I mean, like I said, I usually don't pick with the crowd unless they say something, abstract or their phone go
Why
off.
don't you tell us about the Precious joke then?
I didn't do the Precious joke.
What was the Precious joke?
That was me. Yeah.
Are we talking Precious like in the movie?
Well, have you seen that Biggie Smalls movie that came out? Which is, the rapper? I know.
Yeah. No, I know the Biggie Smalls.
The real big guy.
Yeah.
And they're thinking it's that movie that he actually had. And I say it's called Precious. And then lady in the front row just freaks out. Like that's
But
such a
you
terrible
called
thing.
her Precious, that's why.
Because she looked like Precious. She was.
Okay.
She did look like Biggie Smalls.
I'm just calling how I see it.
Now, after they just said...
Hold on a second. Okay. First of all, okay, I didn't get your joke, but now I understand.
Yeah.
Okay. So the reference to the Biggie Small movie called Precious, that couldn't possibly offend anybody.
Well, if Precious is in the front row, yes, it will offend her.
But the thing is, we're comedians.
My
We're supposed to
point
make
was,
people laugh.
that comment couldn't offend anybody. It was when he pointed to the girl in the
certain
front
person.
row and said, what, there's Precious? Or what?
Yeah, she gave me a gasp, and I was like, what's the matter? I was like, oh, well, yeah, you are. Maybe that's you. Is that why? Is that why you're upset?
Okay. I got you.
I wasn't bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
She'll get over it.
Coming up, will Judge Alex find that Sean is funny or offensive?
What other offensive jokes were there?
Old people jokes. He had a joke about
I never say the word. It's a Special Olympics joke. That's what it is.
And what did he say? It's time for America to vote on today's case. Who do you think I should rule for, the plaintiff or the defendant?
Call toll-free 1-800-282-2333 to vote now and find out how the rest of America votes. You'll also receive some valuable offers. Call 1-800-282-2333 now. Judge Alex is back with the case of Sean Boyd, who says Philip Dent didn't pay him for his participation in a comedy show. He's suing for $4,000. With him in court is his witness and fellow comedian, Ben Palmer. Philip says he doesn't owe Sean any money because he breached their agreement by offending the audience with his off-color jokes.
What other offensive jokes were there?
old people jokes. He had a joke about
I never say the word. It's a Special Olympics joke. That's what it is.
And what did he say?
I don't even remember. It was just tell us. Let's see.
With the joke, I mean, it's like a crowd participation. I make sure the crowd is in it, and I tell them, look at this. What's this? And I go like this. Turtles, you need to catch up, And it's just a joke, because I'm an untypical black guy. I'm not the typical black guy. I'm the untypical black guy because I got my license and insurance and I can swim, so,
Yes.
In a courtroom, it doesn't play so well. But actually, I could see people laughing their head off in a comedy shop.
Right.
Okay. These people weren't laughing, according to him?
No, they were laughing. Everybody had a good time. After the show, people came up to us and said, oh, you guys did great. We got a lot of Facebook friends off of it. So, it was a great show.
Okay.
Maybe his
so
friends came up to you.
I'm sorry?
Maybe his friends came up to him and told him.
Okay. So the show is over. You've told these jokes. Your comedians told jokes. The show ends. You say people were patting you on the back or whatever. And you go to get paid.
Right.
So what happens?
He said he wasn't paying me my money. And he said somebody was offended by one of my jokes. But, I'm a comedian.
He said somebody was offended?
Somebody. Just one person.
Multiple people were offended, and it was a 45-minute show.
Okay.
I have footage of some of my jokes that I do. So, you can actually take a look at that. So.
Is that the video you sent in?
Yeah.
All right, let's play that.
But my grandmother has a Facebook and a Twitter. I seen her update on Facebook and had the T right next to it. I'm like, oh no. So I started following my grandmother on Twitter, right? And it was like Monday, bingo. I'm like, oh, go win some money, Grandma. I need some gas. Then it was like Wednesday, Bible study. I'm like, oh, my grandmother loves the Lord. All right. But then it was like Friday, Viagra. Yeah. I'm like, oh, snap. My grandmother's still doing it, y'all.
So, he seen my show. He know what I do,
Nobody wants to picture grandma like that.
Well,
Exactly. Especially other old people.
That's why they make Viagra.
Here's the problem you have, okay? You see his act. You hire him based on that. Do the two of you ever think about putting this contract in writing?
We did.
We did.
You did?
Yes.
Oh, well, somebody could have been waving a contract around or somewhere. Let me see the contract. At the end of the night, you have $8,000 in your pocket.
I also got
you
the
were
contract I did for the church, too.
From church work you did?
Yeah, I did a comedy show on New Year's Eve for Mount Zion.
At the end of the night, you have $8,000 in your pocket that you were anticipating splitting with him. According to you, 3 ways. According to him, 50-50. So what happens? You get to keep that money and the comedians don't get paid a penny?
No. $4,000 went to the owner, and we gave out free drinks because of you guys being so bad. So we had to take over for that. So that's $1,000 right there.
How many people did you give free drinks to?
Everybody that was there got free drinks. Got a free drink.
Okay.
Coming up, did Philip think to bring proof to back up his claim?
I ended up giving a few people their money back because I thought it went so poorly. A few. Out of 400.
I know how many people came up to me, sir.
And I can't please
Do you have any statements from any of these people? It's time for America to vote on today's case. Who do you think I should rule for? The plaintiff or the defendant?
Call toll-free 1-800-282-2333 to vote now and find out how the rest of America votes. You'll also receive some valuable offers. Call 1-800-282-2333 now. Judge Alex is back with the case of Sean Boyd, who says Philip Dent didn't pay him for his participation in a comedy show. He's suing for $4,000. With him in court is his witness and fellow comedian, Ben Palmer. Philip says he doesn't owe Sean any money because he breached their agreement by offending the audience with his off-color jokes.
This is what you said, okay? I ended up giving a few people their money back because I thought it went so poorly. After the show, I had a few people come up to me and complain about plaintiff's performance. A few. Out of 400.
I know how many people came up to me, sir.
And I can't please
Do you have any statements from any of these people?
No. I didn't tell them to write it down when they came up to me.
No, but you could take their names. You're about to deprive the workers of $3 to $4 grand worth
What
of
amateurs
money.
do you know that make $4,000? I was helping them as a friend.
I don't know. I'm not in this business, but you are. And if you're going to be a businessman, then you better document, because if you end up in court, I'm going to look at a contract, which at least you guys did that. And I'm also going to look for proof that you didn't just pocket his money. How do I know that you didn't tell your friends? I'm going to hire these comedians at the end of the night. I'm going to tell them that people thought they were no good, they weren't funny, and I'm not going to give them their money.
And Judge,
what proof do I have that you didn't do that?
I mean, you don't have any proof. It's my word against his word, basically.
Okay.
But the thing is,
look at the contract.
I can't be offensive because I always tell people at the end of my show to be blessed. Always.
And you're cussing the whole time during the show.
Well,
be blessed.
Maybe he's trying to balance it out. Okay. All right, here's the contract. Sean Boyd will help promote the show and provide other comedians. He did that. Sean Boyd and the other comedians will arrive at 8:30 and perform from 9:30 to 11. Sean Boyd will be prepared to perform 30 minutes of material. One other comic will do 30 minutes. The others will cover the rest of the show. Sean Boyd will receive half the money that is made at the door at the end of his performance as payment.
There you go.
Show it to Mr. Dent, because apparently his memory has faded.
I don't know how.
I need that money too.
That's your
signature contract?
Right there, man.
That's his contract.
Your signature?
Yep.
50%?
It says 50%.
What kind of businessman gives an amateur 50% of the door, $4,000? Wasn't that the question you asked me? What amateur do I know gets $4,000?
Did you hear I said I'm helping out my friends? These are two unemployed people here that I'm trying to put money in their pocket.
What you just did. There you go. Congratulations. Okay? You come in here and you say it wasn't funny, and they go, yes, it was. People walked out. You're not going to get to keep all the money because a few, to use your word, people out of 400 are offended. I've never been to a comedy show where somebody's not offended.
Right.
Okay? But most of the people are laughing. But somebody, especially the one who's the burn of the joke, is offended. I'm sure Precious was offended. I'm sure she was. I've been picked on at a comedy show. I laughed like crazy. I laughed until I cried, and I was the brunt of the joke. But everybody doesn't take it so well. Of course, after the show, the guy went to prison. But the point is, I had a sense of humor during the show. So, here's where we are, Mr. Dent. You hired them to do a show. They did a show. You don't like them, don't use them, but pay them. It's a judgment of $4,000 for the plaintiff.
All rise.
Judge Alex has ruled in favor of the plaintiff and ordered the defendant to pay him $4,000.
The judge's ruling was fair, strict. I mean, we did a show, and he didn't pay us. So, the judge figured we was funny, and we proved it, and we won our money.
I'm still going to do what I do.
Man, I'm just glad we got this money. I needed the money so bad. I'm broke. I have like 3 frozen hamburgers at home. I can't afford to buy toothpaste.
I felt that the judgment was wrong. I felt that they cheated me out of my money. And, maybe I'll pick better friends next time.